Charlie, what's the running back's name? The dad's kind of all over the place. There are three of them. One's a wide receiver for the Amon St. Brown. The St. Brown boys.
James.
Yeah, no. It's Amon St. Brown. And his brothers, they're like three in the NFL. Peyton Manning. LeBron. Yeah, so many of these athletes, where they're
Daryl Strawberry. What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Chael, he's Daniel. I'm at home in Westland, but Daniel, I don't think you are. What is this backdrop? Where are you at right now?
Fight Island. Hey, did you know Fight Island still exists?
No.
Dude, Fight Island still exists. So it's not all shut down like it used to be, where it was Yaz Island essentially belonged to the UFC. That's not the case. But it's still Yaz Island. We have the golf, we have the car racing. Tomorrow, I'm playing in a soccer game. Oh, we just lost the lights. Ready to kick them back on. We're just using we're using like this. You know, you have to have these plugs to plug the light in to the converter.
Yes.
That's what happened. I guess we just lost our power.
Yes. Give me a second. You got to have special lights. I'm kind of into this. I hope that they do the show in the dark, but I have a feeling this is gonna get stood down. There's something funny about this.
That kind of sucks that we're going to start over, but reality is, this is how it should be. Sometimes things happen, and you kind of roll with the punches.
Makes it look live. On Christmas break when I was in high school, the coach would always have us do one session in the dark, and he only did it on Christmas break. I don't know why, but it was wild, wrestling in the dark.
Hey, I got to be honest, like with Halloween coming up, I kind of got scared. Oh, you see, I unbuttoned my top button too. I got a little nervous up in here when them lights went out. So, brother's scared of the dark, you know? Back in the day, hey, I know in Westland, you know, in your mansion that you grew up in, it's not scary in the dark. But in the ghetto, when it gets dark, the roaches come out, the rats come out. It's scary in the dark, Chael. So I picked my feet up off the ground whenever it got dark up in here.
I got to tell you something. Dan, I got to tell you something. You got paid what I believe to be a tremendous compliment. Tom Aspinall, our reigning star, our reigning undisputed. I think he's still interim champion. Some people say he's not, but he never lost it.
Undisputed champion.
At any rate, Tom Aspinall was asked a question, and it was, hey, who from the past would have you been scared to fight because you know we would have beat you? It was a very loaded question. Tom did not pause. He did not hesitate. He said, Daniel Cormier. He said he would have souped me. He would have put me on my head. I'd have never gotten up. The one guy was Daniel Cormier. He was just answering the question. But within that answer, what a compliment. I mean, what a big compliment that Tom's giving you. I got to tell you, I wanted to make sure that you had heard it.
I told him today, I said, I know you were just polishing me up, right? But every now and again, Joe, the old man likes to hear, something nice. You walk around a little more sure after the heavyweight champion goes, in his day, that was a bad boy, right? In his day, that was a bad boy. I love that, man. I love Tom Aspinall's a great guy, and he's a champion, and he's on the verge of something really, really big. So he's fighting Ciryl Gane this weekend at UFC 321. But the problem, or not the problem, here's the situation. He has been so dominant in his run to becoming the UFC champion that it's almost an expectation that he is going to walk through Ciryl Gane. But when you talk to Tom Aspinall or you hear Tom speak, you can tell that he is so motivated and he's so sure of the challenge in front of him. He knows how good Ciryl Gane is. He said they present the same issues for each other. The quickness, the speed, the striking. He believes that he's in for a long night against Ciryl Gane. How good is it for you to hear the champion, who's a massive favorite, show respect and be aware of what he's facing on Saturday?
It changes everything. I'm so glad that you just told me this. Dan, I've been a little bit worried about it. Now, Tom is a guest of the show, but when you have guys on, you start to come on this journey with him, and we were watching him go through different training camps and thinking he was going to fight Jon Jones. So I just share with you that, there's a little bit of a draw towards Tom, and every upset, I don't care if you want to talk about Phelps in the swimming pool or Serena on the golf course or Tyson versus Douglas. Every upset has one thing in common, which is the athlete finds himself in a contest harder than they thought it was going to be. And I have been very worried. Listen, there's one of two things that all of our viewers and even you and I are guilty of. Are we overestimating Tom or are we underestimating Ciryl? And there is no third option. Like, I mean, the odds makers have this as a foregone conclusion. The White House has all but cleared a spot on the card for the heavyweight championship, of which they believe is going to be Tom Aspinall. Like, he's got to get through Ciryl. To hear you say that he's aware, and I love how Tom phrased this, we present the same problems. Daniel, he's spot on. And I will tell you as a viewer, I'm really glad to hear that that's the frame of mind he's in.
So this is how I look at this fight. And I will ask you these questions. I want you to answer them honestly. When you look at Tom Aspinall and you look at Ciryl Gane, Tom Aspinall has never fought longer than, I don't know, a round maybe. So Ciryl Gane, being that he's gone 25 minutes multiple times, who does the championship experience belong to?
Let me give you one long answer to add to your point. Tom Aspinall has gone a full 3 rounds. One time, and partner, it was in the amateurs when they were three-minute rounds. So his longest match ever is 9 minutes. His longest match inside of the Octagon is roughly 7.5. He had to get to the second round to submit former world champion Andrei Arlovsky. I don't love this. The people that are doting on Tom are saying, man, he had 6 first-round finishes. That bothers me. I don't know how those 260 beautiful, muscled-up body is going to move at 15 minutes in. I don't know how it moves at 18 minutes in. Ciryl Gane is in the 5-round club. Ciryl Gane has more experience. He's had more championship fights. He's had more main events, and a lot of people do miss that. There's a number of numbers that favor Tom, but there's a few numbers that favor Ciryl.
So that's one right there. Okay. Has Ciryl Gane fought bigger? No. Would you consider Tom Aspinall a bigger power threat than Derek Lewis, who is the knockout king in the UFC? No one has more knockouts than Derek Lewis. Would you consider Tom a bigger knockout threat than Derek Lewis?
No. And can I see your Derek Lewis, and can I raise you a Junior Dos Santos and a Francis Ngannou?
I was gonna say, is he a bigger power threat than Francis Ngannou?
No. And at this point, the answer is no. However, Daniel, he might be. He put down 6-man in the first round, and Francis did not. But I'm just saying the questions are still out there on Tom. I'm going to go with no.
Okay, so those are things that should start to say, well, if Ciryl managed that, if Ciryl managed Lewis, and if Ciryl managed Francis, and if Ciryl has been 25 minutes, every bit of that odd should start to close a little bit. Tom recognizes that. Tom recognizes that. I just sat with him. And that's refreshing from the champion because he knows. He goes, I think the media is crazy. He said, the way that they are overlooking Ciryl Gane is insane to me. He goes, because everything, I said the same thing I said to you, to Tom Aspinall. I go, he's seen guys, right? They couldn't touch him. He's fast. He's explosive. He's athletic. I said, this is a dangerous fight. He goes, yes. I said, Tom, this is the hardest fight of your career. At least it's supposed to be. But if it isn't, then your career will go to a level like you have never thought you could ever imagine. They will strap a rocket ship to your back and they will send you to the moon. If it isn't. But when we look at this and you really start to dig in the numbers and you really start to look at, forget about the Jon Jones fight, because I swear to God, I think Cassandra said to me, but look at what Ciryl did against Jon Jones. That's a submission. Tom ain't going out there trying to submit him. But when it comes to him fighting strikers, we've never seen him do that. But it's because he, in his biggest spot ever, that happened in the Jon Jones fight. And I believe people are unfairly judging him based on that when it doesn't really apply. And I'm just happy to hear that Tom Aspinall is not buying into that junk.
It's very important. Yeah, I just read a narrative yesterday, and I've had these same thoughts myself, but Brendan Schaub had made a video, went around the internet, and he was just talking about that Tom doesn't just have to beat Ciryl. He's got to beat Ciryl in a better fashion than Jon Jones beat Ciryl. And I have felt that same way, but I must tell you, it's only true if Tom thinks it's true. I am so happy to hear the way that Tom spoke to you. And Tom is a very grounded person, and there's even a couple of reasons for that. I've argued, and I'm jumping a little bit off topic, I've argued that one of the reasons to Stipe Miocic's success was the fire department. The fact that he was keeping hours, and that kept him at home, and that kept him off some of the media tours, and it kept him at his home gym, and it kept him, with his coaches and his teammates. The reason I use the comparison to Stipe is Tom is trained by his father. Tom does his first workout of the day in his backyard. Tom is a very grounded and focused guy from what I know about him. But when you talk about this rocket ship getting strapped to somebody, when you talk about this stardom, Daniel, this is a new thing. There is a new level of pressure, and Ciryl, make no mistake, is the biggest threat and the rightful number one contender.
Absolutely. Ciryl Gane has spent the last 3 to 4 years ranked in the top 3 in the world. Ciryl Gane has had 4 UFC championships fight. Think about this. A guy, Uriah Faber comes to mind as a guy that was never the UFC champion, or at least undisputed, and got as many chances to win that belt. Here's why, though. The only reason Ciryl gets so many chances because there's so much turnover at heavyweight. He fought Derek Lewis for the interim. He fought Francis for the undisputed. He fought John for the undisputed. He fought Tom Aspinall for the undisputed. Even in that, Chael, he's had more 5-round title fights than Tom Aspinall. Is that Tom's fault? No. It's because he was waiting to fight Jon Jones. But ultimately, you have 2 guys that are really evenly matched. So the betting lines and the idea and the perception of what this is going to be is so crazy. So for me, I feel like it's our job to remind everyone why, if Tom Aspinall goes out there and he bulldozes this guy or he steamrolls him, we are looking at something so truly special. But if Ciryl wins, it's not because Tom Aspinall didn't do what he was supposed to. It's because Ciryl Gane is just that good. I think we have the 2 best heavyweights in the world right now, and they're fighting for the belt. Forget about everything you've seen before. You worry about what's happening right now. And right now, you got these 2 massive guys, athletes. Yo, Tom told me today, he weighs 263 pounds. Chael, he gained 8 pounds. He's huge, and he's still in shape. Ciryl looks in best shape of his life. Ciryl moved to Morocco. He doesn't even live in Paris, France anymore. He's been training, traveling the world, getting in his wrestling, getting in his grappling. Both of them know exactly what they needed to do to give themselves an opportunity to walk out of the Octagon with that belt on Saturday night. This is the right fight right now.
Hey, let me stand this, Ciryl, real fast, just because you broke something I didn't know. Where did you say he is doing his training now?
Well, he moved to Morocco. He said he hasn't seen his family in 3 months, though. He said he's been to Morocco, he's been to France, he's been everywhere, rounding out the skills because he's trying to be prepared for what he's going to see this weekend inside the Octagon.
Hey, let me tell you a quick fun fact on Ciryl. Last time Ciryl fought in France, this was like the biggest event in the nation at the time that it happened. Well, because the news was advertising where Ciryl was going to be, the bad guys went and robbed him. They went and did a burglary. They went and did a burglary on Ciryl Gane's house. You got to have some pretty big stones as a bad guy to break into Ciryl Gane's house. I got to tell you that.
That's why he said he moved, Chael. He said he moved because of security. He said it was dangerous. He said people want to steal from you. People want, because he's like ultra famous now in France. So it's like not only is he in danger of just getting swarmed by people, but people that want to steal from him, they follow his life to try to do that. And yeah, I hadn't heard that, but man, what a downer. Whenever you're headlining a card in your home country. Hey, the only place worse. And I didn't want to believe you. I'm not going to say Atlantic City either. I didn't want to believe you when you spoke about the Brazilians. But the Brazilians robbed Jessica Andrade 2 days after she became the UFC champion. They took her belt, Chael. I mean, that is just, guys, that's got to be.
They took the belt.
They told me they took the belt, Chael. The same weekend she dropped Rose Namajunas on her head, she got robbed.
You might as well rob the luge. There's nothing you can do with that belt. You can't go put that belt on the internet or walk it into a pawn shop. Why would they take the belt? That's interesting. I did not know that.
That's terrible. Hey, when Tom Aspinall walked into the Octagon 5 years ago in Abu Dhabi, Michael Bisping said the UFC has something special. Could you see it early that he was going to be a world champion?
Yes, I gotta tell you, I feel like I beat the drum. I remember where I was when Air was calling me and saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this spotlight on future guys, and you're so big on this Tom Aspinall. You're gonna have to make your case." He'd only fought on undercards, and I just remember telling people, "Hey, there's something here, man. There's a big talent. There's a special energy. There's a special." I liked that he was with his dad. I liked that he was this young guy from England, but he was secretly, really skilled at wrestling. Spent time doing grappling tournaments. We don't see Tom grapple much in the Octagon. As a matter of fact, I can only think of one time, and that was the time with Andrei Arlovski. But he has competitively grappled, and it was one of these things I just thought I should bring to people's attention. And then Bisping stole a thunder, man. Bisping become the biggest voice box for Tom Aspinall. But there is an old expression I would just like to remind you of it, because there is two different sports that take place. A 3-round fight is a different sport than a 5-round fight. And the old expression for Mike Tyson, you will not win a decision if you look for the finish. If you try to win by knockout, you will not win a decision. And I do think that Tom is perhaps guilty of that. He is going to go out there and he is going to bring a storm. But if Ciryl is still left standing, there are so many question marks about how that 263 pounds is going to move around 18, 22, 24 minutes in.
Yep. It's crazy when you sit down on that stool and the 4th round starts and you're like, are we still doing this? Like, it's actually crazy going into the 4th and 5th round. It's like, man, I thought it's the first one. It's the first one. And that's why I think right now is the time to fight Tom Aspinall, because we don't know. But there's going to come a time, Chill, where you do know how he handles minute 18, 20, 22. And in most cases, a champion will get better or learn at least to operate in those moments. We saw it with Ngannou. The first time Ngannou fought Stipe for 25 minutes, it looked like Francis was going to throw up on himself, crap his pants, and just die inside the octagon. He could not stand. But then after he did it, he kept a little bit in the tank when he fought Stipe in the rematch and knocked him out. Then he fought Ciryl for 25 minutes and did fine. It's only a matter of him getting that experience, and if he has to struggle through it, get through it to know that the next time he does it, it's not as hard and unfamiliar. So right now is the right time to fight Tom Aspinall if you're anyone. That's why I think Jones messed up so bad. Because if you're gonna fight Tom, you gotta fight him where those questions lie, not only in the general public, Chill, but he doesn't know what it looks like in that moment. But he will at some point, and when he finds it out, he'll be even more dangerous.
Well, and I just think that this fight is the reason I keep going back to this. To your point earlier about Derek Lewis, to my point about Junior Dos Santos, to our point about Francis Ngannou, I don't think on the feet it's overly likely that you're going to get Ciryl out of there. I really respect Ciryl's kickboxing. I really respect the way that he can move and his past experience. I get he and Izzy's records mixed up in my head, but he's either 27-2 or he was 29-3 in professional kickboxing. Like, you know, it's the old Brer Rabbit story where he was born and raised in the Briar Patch. And when you throw Ciryl into that kind of environment, man, I really think he can thrive. I wonder how Ciryl is feeling. I wish that you would have also talked to him, but if he understands.
I did.
But did you ask him specifically about Tom? Did you say, is this guy overrated? Is this guy overhyped? Ciryl had a chance to fight Tom and seemingly avoided that fight at one point.
He said that he had a movie. His manager said they had a movie, so it was already determined that he wasn't going to take the fight. But the one interesting thing that I heard from Ciryl Gane was that I said, hey, is this do or die? Is this do or die? Yep. Because you fought for the belt so many times. If you don't get it done, people don't generally get title fights 5 times without winning them. He said, no, I got time. He goes, because every year I'm in the top 3 guys in the world, and there's so many times where a new champion can be crowned in our weight class. He goes, I've got plenty of time. Ciryl Gane barely started fighting. He's only been a UFC fighter for a certain number of years. He's only been fighting professionally for like 8 years, 7, 8 years.
Do you like that answer? Daniel, do you like that answer that I have time, or would you rather see urgency? Would you rather see burn your ships? Would you rather see it must go my way? I see them both, right? I like that he knows that he's only 36 and he's still got time because heavyweights can fight longer. I would have liked to see him say, it's do or die because I want it to be. That's it. Not because it has to be. It's do or die because I could not imagine going into an octagon in the UFC heavyweight title fight again and it not going my way. That's where I would have liked to seen the urgency. But let me tell you something, he's confident too. But it's a big night for the heavyweights because we have the heavyweight title fight in the main event. We also got a big heavyweight fight on the main card because Alexander Volkov will fight against Jailton Almeida in a fight, Chill, which may be a number 1 contender fight. Do you believe that if whoever wins that fight gets a title fight? I think that we're most likely in that situation. I just want to stay on Volkov when you said his name. I feel my heart goes out to Volkov. I feel that Volkov won his last fight, which, by the way, was
So
against
many
Ciryl.
people are saying that to me. Even
Yes,
Aspinall told me that. They thought
yes,
Volkov beat Gane.
yes. I thought that Volkov won the fight and he had lost the decision. And I know the UFC directly, Dana and Hunter, right there on the cameras, met Volkov outside of the cage. They felt bad. They felt bad, but there wasn't anything they can do. I feel that putting Volkov on this card was because he was going to be the built-in alternate. If anything happened, they were going to do anything they could to right the wrong and give it his opportunity. But the next best thing is a number one contenders match. And even if that isn't clearly identified, it will at least be identified by our rankings committee. I mean, you got number 4 versus number 5, number 5 versus number 6, right? These guys are right up there. So I do think that the winner is going to get their acclaim. But with the idea that Pereira could be moving into the division, the idea that Jon Jones is back in the testing pool, I'm not ready to say that they will fight for the belt, but they'll be in a very good position.
That's the same hang up you have is my hang up in regards to what's next. Because they could get told, like they literally could get told walking out of the octagon, you're next. And if Jon Jones says, I want to fight for the belt, he's going to get a title fight. If Alex Pereira pushes to go fight the heavyweight champ, regardless of who it is, they have to listen. Because ultimately, Chael, it still is a business. It's a business, and Alexander Volkov and Jailton Almeida have not got there yet. They need big moments. They both have struggled a little bit recently. I mean, Curtis Blades was able to get through Jailton. That wasn't that long ago. Volkov, when he fought Tom, got beaten the first round, right? People don't forget that. So I think there are some things working against them in that regard. I think that they could be number one contender, but I think that would be more by like default. If none of those big name guys try to impart themselves into the equation, they will probably get it. But if Jones or Pereira says, I want it, I'm pretty sure the UFC would listen, and rightfully so. Because ultimately it's about making the biggest fights possible, and those would be two of the biggest fights you could make in the heavyweight division, especially if it's Aspinall that's holding the belt after this weekend. The co-main event, sorry.
Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. We cannot start planning this division as badly as we're trying to until we know if Tom is holding that belt. I mean, if Tom's not holding it, I predict for you, it's probably going to be Tom versus Ciryl in a rematch. But the only reason I'm even offering that is it is not a foregone conclusion, partner. And people are talking like it is. We're either overestimating Tom or underestimating Ciryl. There's a reason we do the fight. There's a reason we got him in the cage. And as MMA fans, we don't need this reminder to go back in the history books. We just need Saturday when we look at RDR versus Allen. I mean, this is where upsets happen. One guy finds himself in a match harder than thought it was going to be. Fatigue. Fatigue is one of the few constants that tie our sport all the way back to the first time that we set that cage up in 1993. It's a very big deal. And Ciryl is in the 5-round club. Tom is not. I got to remind you of that.
You know, we'll talk about that because dude, I've been dying to ask you about what you saw last weekend from Vancouver. But first, the co-main event, Mackenzie Dern is taking on Virna Jandiroba for the vacant Strawweight Championship of the world. Chael, what do you make of this fight? These women have fought before. Mackenzie won by submission. But they're different fighters today. Like that, Virna is not who she was when they fought the first time.
You've heard the term fake black belt. It's very looked down on.
Unanimous decision for Mackenzie.
Yes, you've heard the term fake black belt. There's even people that go out and like film a fake black belt and embarrass a guy. All right, well, I lived a period of time as a fake black belt. Now, it wasn't on purpose. Mark Schultz told me, you are whatever belt you're willing to compete with. If you claim you're a black belt, then you are. Instantly, I was a black belt. I had never done a day of jiu-jitsu. I never had a gi. I didn't even have the belt. But I told people I was a black belt, and I believed it. I was 18 years old. I go into a gym in Eugene, and there's these 2 purple belts that aren't crazy about me representing that I'm a black belt, so they asked me to work out. They stretched me in every which possible way, Daniel. I had never done this. Now, these 2 guys would get on an airplane every Friday in Eugene, and they would fly to Arizona. They do 3 days of training. They would come back home, and this is how they were learning the art back then. They would go to Arizona to train with a guy called Megaton Wellington. He weighed 160 pounds, but when he was on top of you, he felt like a megaton. It's where he got the nickname. Megaton Wellington is the father of Mackenzie Dern. Now, I tell you that
Yes.
entire story because she's second generation. She's no different in this sport than Floyd Mayweather was in boxing. And something special happens when you have a second generation athlete. And I really like that story. I want it out there because we don't often see it where it's father-daughter. We don't often see it where it's jiu-jitsu and or MMA. But she's been preparing for this moment her entire life. And Mackenzie Dern has one thing other athletes don't. She has a mandate of the masses. People like her. People want to see her fight. She has shared her private life with us publicly. She's shared divorces. She has shared that she lost in court and she's the one that has the right to check each month and she has to fight because she owes money to this former relationship. All right, we'll stop right there before it gets any uglier, but I'm just sharing with you, her motivations are different. Her motivations are, she was trained different. She was trained like a boy. She was trained like a man. And I bring that to you just because I just think it's an interesting story. It doesn't have a lot to do with this fight. I just thought you'd appreciate the story.
No, it's a great story because it is what we see in so many sports, right? Right now, you have the running back from the, what's the guy's name? Charlie. What's the running back's name? The dad's kind of all over the place. There are three of them. One's a wide receiver for the Amon St. Brown. The St. Brown boys.
James.
Yeah, no. It's Amon St. Brown and his brothers. They're like three in the NFL. Peyton Manning, LeBron. Yeah, so many of these athletes, where their parents.
Daryl Strawberry.
I don't know about Daryl Strawberry's dad, chill. I don't know if Strawberry's dad was a baseball player or what.
Joe
but you're just throwing out names. You're just throwing out names at this point, and I'll just agree. But it's what we see in wrestling, chill. People will. If Daryl becomes a good wrestler, people will go, well, his dad's Chael's son and he was an All-American. I'm pretty sure he got to learn everything from the best. Mackenzie had that. Mackenzie was trained to become a world champion. She was multiple times over. But so was Virna Jandiroba. Virna Jandiroba got all that same stuff without having the dad that had all that stuff. So the journeys, while they look different, they're pretty similar. And most would say that the journey's harder for a Virna Jandiroba than it is for Daniel Cormier II. You know what I'm saying? Than it is for Ciryl Sonnen. Because Ciryl Sonnen and my son have access to coaching, gym, whatever they need, they have. But Virna didn't. Virna took hard work and turned it into an opportunity to become a UFC champion.
Yeah,
and
no, Angenova's special. Sorry to cut your thought off. Yeah, I mean, she's very rough. Mackenzie is a very beautiful style. She really flows, and you can see the technician and the technique. You can see the setup and the thoughts. That's not like that. That's not like that with her opponent. I mean, she is rough. She's a cage fighter. And yeah, when I saw them fight the first time and I saw them get all those minutes in, it was one of these things where I go, you know, I'm not satisfied with what I saw. I'm not satisfied that if I saw it again, this wouldn't go different. It's just kind of based on what positions the fights end up in. The more time they can do on the ground, specifically with Mackenzie on top, is going to be good. But I can make that same statement in reverse. And I can also make that up against the fence. Whoever is controlling that position is likely to win this contest.
A fight 5 years ago doesn't matter because they're both much different. Mackenzie's a better striker today than she was 5 years ago. She doesn't have to rely on her toughness as much. Because you're right. For as beautiful as Mackenzie Dern may be, right? She is a girl that is tough. I watched her get beat up by Jessica Andrade and never quit on herself. Virna Jandiroba, same thing. She's hard-nosed. They're not the same athletes that they were 5 years ago. So does that first fight even matter, or are we looking at just a different fight completely?
Psychologically, it matters. They don't forget one another. Psychologically, you could have felt a guy in a workout room at a camp when you were 14 years old. You meet up in the NCAA finals. You remember that moment. And the good news is we call it the mask is off. People have a fear. They have an aura about them. Anderson Silva, Mike Tyson, guys like this. But if you can rematch them, the mask is off. That aura is gone. And if you've been in there and you've worked out with someone, or in this case, even competed with them, those things do matter to a degree. I can remember when Tommy Hearns was going to rematch Sugar Ray Leonard, there was an 8-year gap. And people were trying to say the first fight doesn't matter. They're not the same guys. Well, it matters to them. The whole reason they got in there a second time is they hadn't let that event go from 8 years ago. And I got some grudges that same way, Daniel. I had guys that picked on me in high school. I don't forget those guys. And there's a little bit of intimidation that's in my heart. And I mean, I'm just sharing with you, like, we don't really let those things go as much as we like to tell the public that we're so different. Not really. The techniques that you use today are the techniques that you learned 10 years ago. So I'm just sharing with you, it does and is relevant to a degree, particularly on the psychological side of things.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. Chill. Monday's headline, what is it going to be?
Daniel, there's a chance that the headline is greatest heavyweight in the world, Jon Jones. Jon Jones is tied to this fight. If Ciryl Gane comes out of there with the belt, I do not think Ciryl is going to be the marquee fighter and highly in demand. I think all attention is going to go to Jon Jones. That's my hot take of the day, and we're a little ways from it. If you want to know what it's going to be, and still, Tom Aspinall.
I think you're right, though. I'm going to agree with you. Monday's headline will be something about Jon Jones. Something. It'll either be, well, Tom Aspinall looks so good, he has to fight Jones, or it'll be Ciryl Gane just became the heavyweight champion. Is Jon Jones still the best heavyweight in the world? Something Jon Jones will lead the charge on Monday, because it'll be he either has to fight Tom or he already beat the guy that now holds the UFC heavyweight championship, so he's still the best. Yeah, I agree with you. It'll be Jon Jones in Monday's headline. Chill, but this week's headline, we didn't have a show Monday, but Reiner de Ridder went into that fight in Canada last weekend with all the juice, Chill. He had it all, man. He was one fight away from potentially sealing a UFC title opportunity. He had all the momentum, Chael. We were all just over RDR. And Chael, it was bad. Let me read the statement that his coach said real quick before you go in. His coach said, after a very strong start in first round, things quickly started failing, and we couldn't really recover from the shots. And after the second round, I made the call to stop the fight. After the fourth round, I take full responsibility for that decision, and it was the right call to make for me in the moment. It's not a decision I ever wanted to make, but I guess sometimes you have to. My job as a coach is to coach, but also to look out for my fighter's health. I've been with Reiner for basically his whole career and saw too many signs that made me step in. If I didn't do anything, he would have continued the fight. But rather than risk unnecessary damage, I decided to call it a day, go home as healthy as possible, and we would live to fight another day. Do you agree that that coach should have done that, saved Reiner de Ridder from the moment?
I absolutely do, and I have a very different opinion than some people. In baseball, they call it the mercy rule. But where it looks like this game cannot be reversed, get him out of there. In amateur wrestling, we call it a technical fall. But when there is a gap so big that it is not reasonable that this match is going to change, just stop the thing. I believe the fighter should get out of there when he can no longer win the contest, not when he can no longer take any more damage. There was nothing about the momentum of that fight that was going to swing back in RDR's way. And for a coach to get him to the back in one, he didn't hurt anybody. I mean, there's a lot of people that now, in our sport, if you quit on your stool, it's the worst thing you can do. So the coach didn't want to make it clear. He didn't quit. I stopped the fight. I think that's fair game. It didn't take away from Brendan Allen's glorious moment. It didn't take away from pundits like you and I being able to look back and to enjoy that fight. I don't think that coach owed any explanation. And he was right. His athlete, with another 5 minutes, was not going to win that fight.
He barely could get up after each round. After the third and fourth round, he could barely stand up. Honestly, stopping fights is a very, very weird thing, because we had some weird stuff happen last week in Vancouver, dude. That was some crazy officiating. We had some wonky judging. We had some weird stuff. And I'm talking some of the greatest officials in the world were at fault on Saturday. Kevin Holland, by the doctor, was asked, could he continue multiple times after taking the entire 5 minutes? You cannot put a fighter in that spot because he will not quit. You find out if he can continue. You can't allow for another 2 minutes to pass trying to give him an opportunity to make a decision when it's only a 5 minute limit. You can't put that in his hands. If he couldn't continue, you should have stopped it. Kevin Holland went out there and he kept fighting because he is a fighter. Then we had the other fight where a guy gets hit with a low blow, right? The referee says it's a hard warning. Goes back, it was Drew Dober's fight. He goes back and says, I changed my mind. I'm going to give 1 minute. But the poor kid that he was fighting, Chael, was so severely damaged that he's writhing and playing on the ground. Drew's kind of relaxing. He loses the point, but then he had a 5-minute break. He goes out and he finishes the fight. So ultimately, it felt like the other guy was the one that got the bad end of the stick on that side. So yes, Reiner de Ridder's coach took it out of his hands because he would have never made that call. His body showed you that he was done. His body told me, honestly, that Brendan Allen saw something in the training room. Even though BA said, I would never train with this guy because I knew at some point we would fight. He saw something in the gym that told him that he could push Reiner de Ridder to a point that RDR would get there because that's how he fought. And I also thought that RDR made some bad decisions over the course of that 22 minutes of that fight. Kept shooting, getting taken down, playing jiu-jitsu. He made mistakes, and it showed that he just needs a little bit more time. But does it change my opinion of Reiner de Ridder? Not necessarily. I think he can still be very good for the weight class. I think he can still be very good in the UFC, but it did make me question a little bit of the fight IQ.
Sure. No, I think that's very fair, and there's two different events going on if you're in a 3-round fight or if you're in a 5-round fight. One thing that really hurt RDR was the success that he had in the first round. Things went so well. We used to talk about it in this industry, and it was just something that Joe Rogan used to mention on the mic a long time, many years ago, but the term was adrenaline dump. And when everything is going so well for an athlete, in fact, a lot better than he thought it was going to do, de Ridder gets his first takedown with a judo throw, feet flying all through the air, moves right into a full mount, starts scoring points. It's one of these things where you get relief. Even more than excitement, you get a relief of, okay, I got this one. I'm not going to screw this up. The bad news, if 5 minutes goes by and you don't finish him, they're going to break the action. They're going to stand you up, and you got to start that whole process over again. And that was the part that I think really affected RDR. I think that's what got his conditioning, not a bad weight cut or lack of notice on the fight. I think it was kind of how well that first round went. He felt that relief, created a small adrenaline dump, took his energy away.
Yeah, it took a lot of energy, and he kept shooting and getting beat up on the ground. Brendan Allen did a great job. So make no mistake about it, RDR is a story because of the way it looked down the stretch. But ultimately, it was Brendan Allen's weekend. And he had the greatest performance of his entire career. And he should be commended for what he did in a spot where not many people expected him to do that. 1 year ago, Chael, Brendan Allen questioned whether or not it was time to walk away from fighting after he got beat by Fluffy Hernandez and he got beat by Imavov. Fast forward 1 year, he has now beaten Marvin Vettori and Reiner de Ridder to put himself in the top 4 in the world. That's how quickly things change in mixed martial arts. So for fighters that start to question, never quit, man. Things can flip for you very, very fast. Chael, I'm going to get some sleep. Man, you know Charlie was yelling at me about getting coffee before? This dude just made a cup of coffee. It's such a double standard. Bro, he literally just made a cup of coffee, Chael.
They'll never kill Charlie, Daniel. They'll do a lot of things. They'll never get him, though.
Did you just make a coffee?
I did.
He just made a coffee, man. Dude's telling me not to drink coffee. It's too late.
All I want to know if Charlie is planning to go on a Sea-Doo with Okamoto. Like, are they still doing it?
Charlie won't go on a Sea-Doo here in Abu Dhabi because there are sharks in the man-made lake that's outside of the hotel, and he's fighting with Ray about it. So, yeah,
he doesn't have to worry about a shark. He needs to worry about Okamoto T-boning him. That's what he needs to worry about.
Guys, for the bad guy Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. Enjoy UFC 321 this week. And guys, remember, it's at a special start time, 2 o'clock Eastern. 2 o'clock Eastern, the pay-per-view starts. Until next time, peace. There it is. Load it up, Chael P.